Yeah, we have a quick Skeptic Sunday School here. I'm going to present the case here that Jesus cannot possibly be the Messiah, according to internal evidence from the Bible. I'm excited because this was an old argument that I used to use, and I had to shelve it because I came across an apologist who had a really good response. So I added this to my...
Jesus is the Messiah.
Yeah.
Was that it?
We'll get to it in a second.
No? Oh, okay.
But this used to be one of my arguments atheists shouldn't use. But just the other night, I read some more stuff and resurrected it. And I think it works now. So let's give it a shot. The argument is that Jesus, to be the Messiah, has to be a king in the lineage of David, right? King David. Mm-hmm. But if you look at chapter 1, verse 11, we find out that Jeconiah is one of the members in Jesus' genealogy. Mm-hmm. And Jeconiah and all of his descendants have been excluded from the throne of David. You can read it in Jeremiah chapter 22, verse 30. It says, "Thus says the Lord of Jeconiah, write this man down childless, a man who will not prosper in his days, for no man of his descendants will prosper sitting on the throne of David or ruling again in Judah."
What did he do to deserve that?
He was a jerk.
Oh, okay. All right.
He was one of these evil kings of Judah.
Yes.
And yes, all of his descendants were disqualified from that. Now this means Jesus can't possibly hold that office of Messiah. Now, apologists have known about this for years. Calvin wrote about it. Mm-hmm. Josh McDowell and other famous apologists write about it. They usually try to argue that Jesus is a physical descendant from Mary, not from Joseph. So therefore, this doesn't apply to him.
Right. Which is obvious from the story, too. Joseph isn't his biological father. So it seems weird to trace it that way.
But the problem is that the genealogies do trace it through Joseph's line. Exactly. And they do argue that he has to, they say, that this is why Jesus is a legitimate heir to the throne. So if you actually take those scriptures at face value, that argument can't work. A better counter-argument they had, and this was the one that I had to give into at one point, was to say that this curse was only temporary. That if we actually look later on in the list, there's a king Zerubbabel.
Which is a great name.
I know.
Rob-bell?
Zerubbabel.
He's the emergent church.
He's the grandson of Jeconiah.
Right.
And yet he is, we have this verse in Haggai 2:23. It says, "On that day, declares the Lord of hosts, I will take you, Zerubbabel, as my servant, for I have chosen you, declares the Lord of hosts." Now that seems pretty obvious that, well, God seems to be using somebody else from this line. Mm-hmm. And that's why I had to say, well, okay, that verse looks pretty clear. I can't use this argument anymore. Well, I looked into it more. Zerubbabel was never actually made king. He was only a governor. This is when Israel was a vassal state of Persia.
Right.
And Cyrus of Persia ordered Zerubbabel to be the regional governor. But when it comes to the coronation ceremony, it's very interesting. They don't make Zerubbabel king. They in Zechariah, you can read it for yourself in Zechariah chapter 6, verse 12 through 13, the Lord of hosts says, "Here is the man," and he's talking of the high priest Joshua. "Here is the man whose name is the branch. It is he that shall build the temple of the Lord, and he will sit and rule on the throne, and there shall be a priest by him, and a peaceful understanding between the two of them." It turns out Zerubbabel is never made king, and you got to wonder why. Because it's completely unprecedented in Israel's history that a high priest was given the office of king. The only reason I can think of is because the guy who was actually commissioned by Cyrus to be the governor couldn't be the king.
Right.
Because of this curse. So if all that holds up, Jesus is disqualified by the Bible's own internal criteria from being the Messiah.
Well,
kind of sucks, huh?
Yeah. Ouch. Impressive. That's our little Skeptic Sunday School, but it packs a wallop.
Yeah, well, it's a good one, and I'm sure we'll find objections to that, and we'll deal. I can expand this argument quite a bit in the future for anyone who's interested in it.
To be fair, you can expand pretty much any argument.
Oh, I'm very good at expanding things.
Now, hopefully, we still have on the line Jem.